Hi, I'm Amanda, and this is Buttercup. She's 10 years old, but acts like she's 2. And this is Ananda, our home for the last 8 years. We hope you enjoy this tiny peek into our liveaboard life on the west coast of British Columbia. Good morning. Buttercup and I are still in Vancouver. We're currently anchored in Falls Creek. What I thought I would do this week is give you a tour of my boat. I have a Catalina 28 Mark II. It was built in 1996. I bought this boat 8 years ago, so I've been living on this particular boat for 8 years. I will say off the top, I did clean my boat, but I didn't make it perfect because, believe it or not, I don't live a perfect life. You're probably gonna see a bit of dog hair, a bit of dirt, but that's just life. I think this video may end up being a little bit long, so in the comments below I'm going to add chapter links that you can click through to, I don't know, watch the things that interest you the most, I guess. But it's going to be a long day of filming, so let's get started. Down the stairs and then to your right, you can see my bed. This is a full double bed underneath the cockpit, which I love. I love it so much more than the V-Berth. But I use the original Catalina cushions, and I have I think 2-inch or 3-inch memory foams. So it is super comfortable and super cozy, and I love it. This is my galley. The Catalina 28 wasn't meant to be a liveaboard boat, so there's not a whole lot of storage. I try and keep as little stuff as possible off the boat. We'll start on this side. In here, underneath all this stuff, is a cupboard. This is where I keep tuna, any kind of canned goods, dried goods. So that'll go under here. And then down here, we have a small little shelf that I can keep pots and pans. Mostly I put pots here and a few items that I use for baking. And then as we go up, you can see I've got cupboards here. So these cupboards I use for all kinds of miscellaneous things. A lot of spices, a lot of soup mixes. There's some aspirin, some Tylenol, some Advil. A lot of the stuff that I need for baking I'll put in there. And then on this side is mostly spices. So I have a lot of spices in here that I used to cook with. So that's really important to keep those easy to grab. And then just above, you can see this cool little shelf. This is where I put my plates. When I'm underway, if it's a little bit bumpy, these plates don't move around because this ledge stops them. Okay, and then down here, excuse my coffee, we have another cupboard. This is the cupboard where I keep pots and pans. These are the bigger items, and this is the largest cupboard I have in the galley. So I've got a Dutch oven, I've got a popcorn maker, got all kinds of stuff in there. And then put those back. And then right here is a sink. It's a single sink, but it's a nice size sink, so I'm pretty happy with that. I have a full oven, which is amazing. I bake a lot, I cook a lot of food in there. And I have 2 burners, so this runs on propane. It lasts quite a long time. It takes a 10-pound propane tank, so that can last me about 3 months, which is great. This is a counter that you can pull up and down in order to get more counter space for preparing meals, or I use it a lot for when I do dishes. And it's super easy to take out and super easy to put back. I do have a few cupboards and drawers. So this is my messy cutlery drawer, and then the bottom 2 are just junk. So I've got tools and screws and fuses and spark plugs and all kinds of stuff. Line, seizing wire, got all kinds of stuff in there. And then one last cupboard here holds my fire extinguisher, and I generally just put plastic bags in there. If I get a plastic bag, I just shove it in there so I can reuse it. And that is my galley. I love my little galley. It's been so good to me. So if you come to the left, as soon as you come down the stairs, you can see my control panel. This panel controls everything on the boat. This switch turns on the shore power. Currently it's off because I'm at anchor. You can turn on and off the outlets. You can turn on and off the water heater and the battery charger. These 2 are currently off. This is my battery switch. So 1 is my starter, 2 is my house batteries. This is the propane solenoid, so when I want to cook something, I just turn that on. Accessory, I don't think that's not connected. Cabin lights, running lights, nav lights, deck lights, steaming, anchor. So nav, sorry, did I say nav lights? That's nav comm, so that would be my VHF. And then here we have voltage. So this voltage is telling me how much power I have in my house batteries and my starter. So my starter's number 1. So if I go to number 1, it's at 13. And then if I go to number 2, it's at 13. So the solar is charging number 2 right now because it's a sunny day. This is the fuel pump. This is the stereo. This is not currently connected to anything because there's no refrigerator connected to this panel. Macerator pump I no longer have, which I'll talk about in a minute. And water pressure shower pump. That gets the water going, and there is a shower in the bathroom, which I don't use. And you'll see why. And this is the bilge pump. Currently it's on auto. So just in case I start sinking, it'll just start pumping the water out. So that's my control panel. And then if we look down here to this mess, this is basically a place where I put stuff. The stuff that you don't really know where it goes and you gotta have a place to put it. So this is pretty much where I put my keys and a bunch of other things. This is my ice box. It's pretty huge. In here, I keep dry food, dry goods, like coffee, flour, anything that can stand being in the dark and also doesn't need to be refrigerated, of course. So that's what I keep in there. This little thing here, it's really supposed to be for charts, but I find they get too dusty, so I keep them in the V-Berth. If we keep going down the port side of the boat, you can see this is the settee on the port side. This is my wood stove. I love this wood stove. This is a cubic mini cup. It is very, very small, but it warms up my entire boat. I installed it last year, and basically all you have to do is cut a hole in your ceiling and stick a flue through, get your deck fittings all set up, and boom, you got yourself a stove. So it's really small. It's surprisingly small. So the wood that fits into it, I think it's got to be about 5 inches or even less. Maybe it's 4.5. But this thing is a workhorse. It keeps my boat so warm in the winter. I have this fan pointing into the V-Berth, and it stops the V-Berth from getting any condensation during the winter. It's just amazing. So I'm really happy with this stove. I use this wood I get from locally. You can get it from Canadian Tire or Rona, and it's really great because you literally just snap the pieces off, and so you can fit it perfectly into your stove. It's a little tough to get going. It's a little tough to get burning, but once it goes, it does pretty well. On the starboard side of the boat, we have Buttercup's bed. So in the winter time, Buttercup will sleep here because I think the floor gets a bit too cold for her. But in the summertime, she's down there. She's either on this side or this side. She really likes this side, but I currently have this fan going, and she tends to lie wherever the fan is pointing. So she sleeps, being that she's 10 years old, she sleeps pretty much all day. So this is Buttercup's bed. Down here, you'll notice I have this ugly bin. This bin, currently I have fire stuff in it. So I've got paper for a fire starter, and I've got some extra wood. The reason why I have this is because sometimes in the summer it can get a bit cold. Like even now it's starting to get pretty cold at night. So that is the main area. So as you come down into the boat, this is what you see. This is the main area. All right, let's see if I can step over Buttercup. Oh, there we go. All right. It looks a bit chaotic, but believe it or not, it's an organized mess. You'll notice I've removed the V-Berth cushions. I don't like sleeping in a V-Berth, and I don't often have sleepovers, so I took those out. On the starboard side, you'll notice my fancy closet. All I did is I got a closet rod, and I attached it to the bulkheads on either side, and voila, my closet. I love it. I love it. Previously to having this, I was living out of a box, and I did not like that at all. So this is great. It makes me feel, I hate to use this word, but it kind of makes me feel normal again. In here, I keep things like dirty laundry. That's my shower bag, and this is socks. That's summer clothes. And then I've got my crochet materials here. And then this shelf ends up being the catch-all for stuff. Once in a while, every couple of weeks, I'll go in and I'll clean it out or sort it out just to make it look half decent. So up here, I have a high volume Life Straw water filter. I just thought, just in case I'm somewhere where I need to get water from a source where I wasn't quite sure whether it was safe to drink, I got that. I haven't had to use it yet, so that's good. On the port side, I have my fancy fridge, which I love. I'm so happy to have this. Above my fridge, you can see the control panel, or the charge controller, sorry, for my solar. It's really a basic one. I really should get a better one eventually. That's on my list of things to do, but that's serving me well for now. As you can see, it's charging. So this is my fridge. I have more than enough power to run it now, which is fantastic. I can keep so much food in here. I don't really have a whole lot right now, but when I leave here, I'll stock it right up. So I'm really happy about that. I love my fridge. Down here, so this strap, just in case you're wondering, this strap is connected to this piece of wood here, which is connected to the bulkhead. Basically, when I'm underway, I just tighten up this strap and it stops the door from opening. The fridge doesn't slide at all, but if it did slide, it would also stop it from sliding off. Under here, I have a few cupboards. I've got these funny little cupboards. In here is receipts. So anytime I buy something or I think I need to keep a receipt, I just dump it in there. So that's pretty handy. On this side, there's another one. And in here, I keep my shoes. I don't have a lot of shoes on the boat, so this little cupboard is perfect. And then this is where I keep Buttercup's dog food. Back here, there's another little cupboard. I don't really put anything in there. It's quite dark. I think I've got a tiny little toolbox in there, but that's about it. There's nothing. It's basically, I think this just goes right under the V-Berth and anchor locker. Okay, so that's that. I should also mention my entire V-Berth underneath here is a water tank. Let's talk about my power. Under my port side bench, I have a lot of freaking power. This is where my poop tank used to be. And I hate sewage on a boat. I hate it. I hate the smell of it. I just hate the thought that there's poop sloshing around everywhere on my boat. I don't like it. So I had that removed and use the space for a lot of power. Right now I have 4 gel batteries. These are my house batteries. And then this tiny little one over here is my starter battery. Oh, there's my tweezers. I have a 2000 watt pure sine inverter that is charging all of these beautiful babies right here. This valve was the valve that went to my macerator. I've got it sealed off with a piece of pipe or tube, and then there's this little kind of stopper in the bottom and some clamps on it. So obviously this is closed and should not be opened. Basically, with all this power, I can survive for about 5 or 6 days off-grid without charging. So that's just assuming there's no solar going into them at all. This power inverter is set up in kind of a neat way. So right here, there's an extension cord with a male end, and then it's threaded all the way through up behind the control panel, and then it comes out right here and then is plugged into an outlet, and you'll notice it's a male. So it's a male to male. What that does is it activates my outlets. Every outlet on my boat works as if I was on shore power, so that's pretty neat. In order to do this, I have to have outlets on, which I do, so I can use any outlet on my boat. That's my new battery power. This is my engine. It's an 18 horsepower universal by Westerbeek. This engine you can access from every side. It's fantastic. There's also a little door in the bathroom that you can open in order to access the other side. Probably could use a solid dusting, but thanks to my friend Ken, I have so much confidence in my engine now. I don't think it's ever worked better. is the bathroom. In it, I got a hook on the back here. So I've got my foul weather gear and I've got my life jacket. Sorry, keep those. It's a pretty small bathroom. I actually don't really use it that much. It's kind of turned into a bit of a storage area, to be honest. This is the shower. You just pull this out and then you kind of hand wash, spray wash yourself. I removed the shower curtain that was here because it was mildewy and I just haven't replaced it yet. I put a hook up there so I hang clothes wrapped in garbage bags. So those are the clothes that, you know, I don't want smelling like boat. Down here, this is where the toilet used to be, right there. I took that out. Eventually I'll put in a composting toilet, but that's a little bit in the future. So right now, and I won't show you things you don't need to see, but this is my composting toilet. So it's a 5-gallon bucket with a 5-gallon bucket toilet lid. It's brilliant. There's no smell. It's super clean, and I honestly think it's the best thing I ever did on my boat, next to the power. In this black bag is peat moss. So I use peat moss to compost, and you use very little of it, and it lasts forever. This is my fancy, tiny little bathroom that has now become pretty much a storage area. We'll start off with the cockpit. One of the things that I just really dig about this boat is how big the cockpit is. Right here, I have a fold-up table that, when it's up, is actually really, really big. On this boat, I also have 2 amazing captain's chairs. They're just so awesome. This chair and this chair. They're the best seats in the house when you're underway. I have a walk-through transom, which I need in order to get Buttercup on and off the boat. One of the main reasons I actually purchased the boat that I did. Here I have a Dickinson barbecue. It's the biggest one. I don't use it very often. I often forget that I actually have it. It's so weird. For electronics, I don't have anything super fancy. This one tells me the depth. This is my autopilot, and then this is my knot speed, which has never worked since the day I bought the boat, but it hasn't been super important to me, so I've just never gotten it fixed. Another thing that's really great about this boat is the fact that all lines lead aft. It's perfect for a solo sailor. It's super easy to sail because all the lines are right here. So you don't actually have to go up onto the coach roof in order to raise the main. So it makes it a lot safer if you're a solo sailor. Up here, you'll see I've got these 2 lazy jacks here. Am I pointing? Yeah, lazy jacks. There you go. Oh, that's a mast. That's my neighbor's mast. These are my lazy jacks. I have what's called a Dutchman's flaking system. The lazy jack substrate, it's like a, I don't know, it's almost like an acrylic. It's not line. A Dutchman's flaking system is technically supposed to flake the sail, the main sail. So you can just release it and it should drop and flake on its own. I'll be honest, it doesn't always work, but it is a good thing to have because you can literally just drop the main, let it drop where it drops, and it's not gonna fall all over your coach roof. It actually stays pretty organized until you can get a chance to tie it off. This little compartment right here holds my propane tank. Inside, you can see this This one is actually currently an 11 pound. It actually is not the right size for the compartment. I have an aluminum propane tank in Campbell River that's actually just getting recertified. Yeah, that's probably the word. It's just getting recertified. So I just have this one temporarily. So that's my propane tank. If we head towards the bow, oh, listen to all those sirens. I tell you, I didn't miss that about Vancouver. You'll see here these green water tanks. So I'm currently not using the water tanks on my boat because I have a bit of a leak in my hot water heater. So I've got to get that fixed when I get back to Campbell River before I head off again. I currently use these green water containers and they're fantastic. They work really well and they're easy to fill. So yeah, those work well for me. You can see I have solar panels. I have a lot of solar power on my boat. These are Renogy 100 watt panels and I have 3 of them. With the help of my friend Ken, we set up this solar mounting system. So I've used hinge tees with some roll bar here. And then if we go over to this panel that's actually not up, we can see how it's hooked to the roll bar. I use these clamps in order to connect them to the roll bar so they can easily go up and down. You can see that it's quite sturdy. The clamps hold them up quite nicely on the roll bar. This is my anchor locker. I do not have a winch. I don't mind pulling up my anchor. It doesn't bother me so much. Currently, my ground tackle, I have 120 feet of line. I have about 100 feet of pretty solid chain, and I currently use a 7 kilogram Bruce. So there you go. That was my tour. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. If you have any questions or I didn't cover something that you'd be interested in knowing about, please leave me a comment below.